Part 15 of 25. Meg, Another Day. 1962, Houston, Texas. Another day came. I kept trying to move forward, hoping another day, a different day would come. Things were going to get better when another day came, I kept telling myself. I got work bussing tables in a club. Another club, another struggle. I talked to the owner and told him I was a musician, and he nodded. I followed him into the back room, and when he turned and saw me standing there, he nodded his head again. I can always use reliable workers if you are reliable. We have the work for you. He didn't note me saying I was a musician, and I thought briefly that half the people he hired might have been musicians. I heard he hired the musicians who went on stage personally, and I tried to approach him as a musician. I can only imagine how quickly folks who cleaned up behind others quit working here. I was reliable, but I couldn't promise for how long. People who get jobs cleaning up and serving are mostly waiting for something better to come along. At least I was waiting for something better to come along. I never left a job without a fair amount of warning. You can count on me, sir. I had changed jobs frequently since I'd been in Houston, but I always tried to give it at least a few days' notice. He stared me down briefly, then nodded his head. He knew these jobs were easy to fill, so he probably wasn't worried about my leaving. When I started, I was working 7 days a week. I never felt easy unless I had some money in my pocket. I'd reach a point where I counted all the money I had several times a day. Money seemed to just disappear from my pockets. After a couple of months working in this club, some of it began to reappear, and I'd saved enough money to allow me to breathe a little more easily. I cut back to working 6 days a week. I was still spending much of my work running, time off work running through the clubs, hoping I could find a place to play. I didn't give it any thought. I just did it like I had to. I knew a lot of the guys playing, but it wasn't a good fit for me with any of them. Some just weren't looking for a guitar player. Others weren't looking for my type of guitar player. Fellow I played with had his own band. He switched up band members often so he could keep control. Well, that's what he told me. He wasn't any good and probably couldn't have kept a decent band together for long if he'd wanted to. I saw his band playing one night after they were done, I hung around and chatted him up a bit. He already had a guitar player, but he said he could use another one. I was in the band for about 2 months before the other guitar player left for Dallas. He said Dallas was where things were happening in this part of the country. Things were happening in Dallas, and my feet were stuck in cement in Houston. The band didn't play regularly. Sometimes the sets were cut short. The band was tired. The band leader was especially tired. I was 20, tired, and still uncomfortable with the world every second of every day. After 16 years in East County and 4 so far in Houston, I was desperate to find somewhere comfortable. I longed to find a place where, when I woke in the middle of the night, I wouldn't feel panic because I didn't know where I was. I'd avoided women. I had no money to spend on women and very little time to spend chatting up any. I was almost obsessed with saving money. Money meant freedom to me, and freedom meant everything. Freedom from what? I don't know. Meg was from Beaumont. She worked as a waitress at D's. Like me, she was yellow skinned. We passed words between us for a few months. She was as open as I was closed. She enjoyed every day. I rarely saw a day I enjoyed. She laughed easily. I didn't. Another day came. You have any free time? I asked. I'm free all the time, she said with a smile. I knew what she meant, even though she didn't say it right. I returned her smile. You ever go to clubs to listen to music? I hear enough of the music here. I don't want to spend any more time in clubs than I'm getting paid to. Maybe we could find a spot on a curb and sit and watch cars go by. Maybe something in between clubs and curbs, she smiled. Dinner or a movie would be fine for me. Dinner and a movie would be fine for me as well. We shared dinners and watched movies together for a while. Between my attraction for Meg and my fear of her, the closer I felt to her, the more strongly I pushed her away. She tried to pull me closer. When are you going to invite me to your room, Joey? I was renting a room and never felt free to have folks come over. The married couple who owned the house might have said it was all right if had I asked, but I didn't want to be a bother to them. They were great to me. They took me in, providing me with a warm room I could afford. I met the husband at a restaurant I ate at sometimes. He was a cook there, and I went in one night when the place was almost empty. He came out front to look about, and we started up a conversation. Talk turned to my living in a hotel and my need to find somewhere cheaper. He said he and his wife had a room they sometimes let. He said I was welcome to it for a short while if I needed somewhere soon. I walked him home that night and we spent most of the evening drinking beer in his kitchen. His wife showed up shortly past midnight from the job she worked. He introduced us and told her he'd offered their spare room to me if that was all right with her. She glanced quickly at me and then nodded her head at him. Meg shared a room with a couple of other girls. I never met either girl. When I met Meg there, she'd always be out front sitting on the steps waiting. We'd get a room in a hotel. Once a week, we shared a hotel room for a little more than a year. I had money saved. I could have afforded to do better, but I couldn't allow myself to spend the money. Meg said several times if we scrimped, we might be able to afford a place together. I had no idea how to spend money wisely. I just wouldn't let myself spend any, squirreling away money. I couldn't help. I felt so panicked most of the time. I could feel my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. Knowing I had a little money and a way out calmed my panic to where it was bearable. She got tired of me, tired of my panic. She got tired of our weekly hotel stay. Joey, I can't hardly force myself to keep going to that place. I can't keep meeting a man at a hotel. We can do better than this. I have to do better than this. Meg, I'm sorry. I'm trying. I can't seem to keep money in my pocket. I'm making nothing, and I'm having trouble holding on to that nothing. You're getting paid by the club. You have to be getting something from this band you play in. You have to be making enough to live decently. Why can't you keep no money in your pocket? Where does your money go? Other guys working at the club, I know guys playing in bands. They're living better than this. We have to at least try. We have to at least think about trying. I think about you and me all the time, Meg. All the time. I can't seem to get ahead. Between the room I rent, the room we share, the meals we share, the guitars I have to pay for, I can't keep much more than a dime in my pocket. She knew that was all nonsense, and she knew I was all nonsense. She wanted more than I could give. She wanted everything from me, and I didn't have anything to offer her. We got a hotel room. She was quiet. She asked me for money. Joy, I gotta have some money. You have to give me some money. I don't have any money to give you, Meg. I've told you all the places my money goes to. Why are you so desperate for money? Joey, a friend of mine is in a jam. I have to do what I can to help her. All us girls are giving what we can. Meg, I'd give you what I had if I had anything, but I can't give you money I don't have. She drew a heavy sigh. I could tell she knew I was lying. I really did care for this woman, but I couldn't allow myself to help her out. She lay down without another word. I lay down beside her. I was out in a minute. I'm not sure if she slept at all. The next morning when I woke, the only things left in the room were my clothes. The little bit of pocket change I always carried around was gone. It wasn't much money, but I felt the loss. I went to her building and checked with the landlord, and he said he had no idea about her, but the other girls hadn't checked out. I went to our place of work, and they said she had been in earlier to collect her last paycheck. I hadn't met the other girls, and I had no idea how to contact them. I figured if she had collected her last paycheck, she'd probably moved on. She had to know I would be looking for her. It wasn't about the money. I don't know what it was about. I went back to the hotel room and sat on the bed trying to think. I couldn't focus on anything. What did Meg need the money for? Maybe I should have given her what she asked for. What was I doing here in Houston? What was I doing? I went to the house where I was staying and into the room rented to me. I sat down on the bed. I felt like crying, but a man isn't allowed to cry for himself. I packed up my clothes and went into the kitchen. Beth, the woman half of the couple who rented the room to me, had her back turned to me. I sat at the table and waited for her to turn. After a few moments, she turned to find me sitting, looking in her direction. What's wrong with you, boy? I'm leaving, Beth. I'm leaving. You all right? You don't look so. I can't find my way. I have to leave. Is it as bad as all that? I nodded my head. 6 years I've been trying. It may not be long for most people, but it seems like a lifetime to me. 6 years gone. We'll keep the room for you for a week, Joey. You'll find your way. You're such a young boy. You probably don't even know what finding your way means. You're a good boy. You'll find your way. The story ends with me sitting bent over with my head resting on both hands on a bus headed back to East County. And that's it.